Have you ever felt so passionate about something that you were willing to do whatever it took to stand for what's right? Today, we're diving into the intense story of a man who did just that, Phinehas. His story, found in the book of Numbers, is one of zeal, justice, and a dramatic turning point for the nation of Israel. It's a powerful narrative that challenges us to think about our own convictions. So grab your Bibles or just listen closely as we explore who Phinehas was and what we can learn from his radical actions. Our story begins at a dark time for the Israelites. They were camped at Shittim near the Promised Land, but they were falling into a serious trap. The Moabite women were inviting the Israelite men to their feasts, which involved worshipping their gods, including Baal of Peor. This was a direct violation of God's first commandment. The people were indulging in idolatry and immorality, and God's anger was kindled against them. A devastating plague broke out, and thousands of people were dying. The situation was spiraling out of control. Moses and the leaders of Israel were weeping at the entrance of the tabernacle, completely heartbroken and desperate. They knew they had failed to lead the people well, and they were watching their nation suffer the consequences. It was a scene of total despair. In the midst of this public mourning, something truly audacious happened. An Israelite man whose name was Zimri brazenly brought a Midianite woman, Cosby, right past Moses and into his tent in full view of the entire assembly. This wasn't just a private sin. It was a public act of defiance against God and the community's leadership. It was a shocking display of rebellion, as if he was saying that God's laws and the people's sorrow meant nothing to him. This is where Phinehas enters the scene. Phinehas was the grandson of Aaron, the high priest. When he saw what Zimri was doing, he was filled with what the Bible calls zeal. This wasn't just anger. It was a passionate, righteous indignation for God's honor. He didn't hesitate. He grabbed a spear, followed the man into the tent, and in a single, decisive act, he ended their rebellion. It was a graphic and intense moment, but it was the turning point. The Bible tells us that immediately after Phinehas acted, the plague stopped. His quick, decisive action saved countless lives and turned away God's wrath from Israel. God himself commended Phinehas, saying he was zealous for my honor, and made a covenant of a lasting priesthood with him and his descendants. So, what are the lessons for us today? First, Phinehas teaches us about the importance of standing for what is right, even when it's unpopular or difficult. He saw a blatant sin that was destroying his people and dishonoring God, and he acted. It challenges us to ask ourselves, are we willing to stand up against injustice and moral decay in our own communities? Do we have a holy zeal for God's honor? Second, his story is a powerful reminder that our actions have consequences, both for good and for bad. The Israelites' sin brought on a plague, but Phinehas's righteous act brought it to a halt. It shows us that one person's courage and conviction can make a massive difference. We should never underestimate the impact our choices can have on the people around us. Finally, the story highlights the seriousness of sin. In our modern culture, we often downplay sin or try to redefine it. But the story of Phinehas shows that God takes sin, especially public and defiant sin, very seriously. However, it also shows his incredible mercy. Phinehas's action was an atonement that stopped the judgment. It's a foreshadowing of the ultimate atonement made by Jesus Christ on the cross, who took the judgment for our sin upon himself, so that we could be reconciled to God. Phinehas's zeal was a reflection of God's own passion for his people and his holiness. The story of Phinehas is not an easy one, but it's full of powerful truths about conviction, courage, and the heart of God. It encourages us to live with a passion for righteousness and to never be indifferent to the things that break God's heart. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive today. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more content that explores the powerful stories of the Bible. See you in the next video.